going to jump into the meat of this. We're going to stay in some ways pretty close to the workbook. In other ways, we're going to move around a little bit. Primarily, I'll move around some. Let's open to the portion of identify. You guys can probably figure out 2 or 3 different passages of Scripture to biblically emphasize or illustrate, identify. I use the passage there about Jesus picking his disciples. I'm going to kind of go to the second page very quickly, but let me say 2 things there in the beginning of identify. You have got to be intentional. Okay? You have got to be intentional. Okay? All the hard things that happen in our lives that we accomplish are never done in just happening. I mean, you've got to be intentional in those areas that are hard and difficult. Evangelism is difficult. Now, one of the things that I'm going to tell my congregation this Sunday morning, we're going to show bunches of pictures of the goats. We're going to have pictures of a group just got back from Turkey with an eye care thing, and we're going to show little pictures of the turkey and that sort of thing. And everybody gets excited. Oh boy, it's missions! It's missions! You know, I mean, it's amazing how I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Our church is so generous to do that. But here's what I'm going to tell them about missions. It's all exciting, and I'm excited about it. I'm a missions guy. Missions is the concept we have of the word missions is only one of the strategies, that we use to do what it is that we're supposed to be doing, and that is to win people to Jesus Christ. Missions is a strategy for evangelism. It's not the other way around. I don't know how in the world we can have such a bad attitude about evangelism, but yet such a great attitude of one of the strategies of doing evangelism. Right? I'm not going to give anybody, I'm a nice guy, I promise you, I'm a nice guy. I'm not going to give anybody a single slice of bread if I'm not going to be telling people or getting ready to tell people about Jesus Christ. I'm not going to spend $500,000 within 7 or 8 years in Kenya just so people can have goats and eat. I want them to have goats and I want them to eat. Okay? I love them. So my last time was my 17th time. Okay? I love them. But I'm going to tell you something. We're going to tell people about Jesus. We're going to plant churches. We're going to read the... So you understand where we have to be there. Okay? We've got to be intentional. So if, you know, I know some of you, I know you're great guys. You're like me. You're standing at the grocery store and the person's behind you and the checker's slow and you're talking about this person a little bit and all of a sudden, they say something and about spiritual things and all of a sudden you have the opportunity to witness to them in some fashion and you go ahead and do that. Well, that's a great thing. You know, but you can't go back and sit down and say, man, I witnessed, I did my thing, you know. That's not going to work. That's not going to grow our churches. That's not going to grow the kingdom. That's not going to win a great number of people in Jesus Christ. That's not going to have 100 people come within 6 weeks in a church. It's not going to have a church cleaning out Sunday school, old Sunday school classes that they've used for closets for years because people are coming. They're not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to make Hispanic churches all over the San Antonio and El Paso area that are rocking and rolling because of people coming to know Jesus Christ. You've got to be intentional to do that, okay? And the first aspect of being intentional is identifying people. We say that we want to identify people and our four people and our families within the geographical area of our church, okay? Why the geographical area of our church? Because we want to build relationships with them, and then once they come to know Jesus Christ, we want to be able to disciple them where they can grow and to be able to serve the kingdom. That's what our desire is, to do that. Now, it can be individuals, it can be families. Our other location, campus location, Paul Lyles is the pastor there. We're doing 4x4. This is about 10 years. In October, we are studying this workbook in adult Sunday school. Okay, just so everybody knows. Again, just to remind everybody, Paul at Summer Creek, they're going to study it. He's changed Identify, though. Instead of each person in the family having someone, and this is great, each family in the church together will sit down and talk about that, and they will identify 4 other families as a family. Okay, that's a great way, isn't it, Scott? I mean, Paul said, "Is that okay, Pastor?" I said, "Hallelujah." That's not okay. Okay, just do your thing, you know. Can't be your brother and sister in Arkansas. I hope you're praying for your brother and sister who's lost in Arkansas. Please do that. Do not put them on the 4x4 card. Right? Don't do. I lost my 4x4 card. I lost my packet, my little card thing. You know, and if I went into my, where are those cards, Scott? Okay? If I go into my church, I'm in trouble because they're going to ask me for their 4x4 card. I got to have a 4x4 card in my pocket. Okay? You put your 4x4 card, your names on the card that are people within that geographical area. People ask me, how once I put them on the card, how do they get off the card? How can I take them off? Okay? There's only 3 ways people can take off the card. Okay? It's hard. I'm hard. Okay? You get saved, move out of the geographical area of the church, or die. Okay? We don't want them to die. Okay? We want them to take off the card when they come to know Christ, okay? So that's the process. And people ask me all the time, how do you find them? You find them anywhere. Find them any place that you go, right? The truth of the matter is we live in what we think is a Bible Belt, and everybody around here is Christians, and some people say there are 65 or 70% of the people that are Christians. That is just false, okay? If you walk out, a typical neighborhood in Texas, you walk out of your front door, you look to the left, look to the right, look at the 2 people over there, more than likely you'll find 3 families that are unchurched. Now, when I use the term unchurched, okay, again, I'm not politically correct. When I use the term unchurched, I'm saying lost. Okay, I believe that the chronic unchurched people in America are lost people. I do not believe. Now, again, I'm not going to fight with you about this, but the fact of the matter is, when you walk down the aisle at a revival in 1984 in Lubbock, Texas, when John Randalls was preaching, and you made a profession of faith, and you never went back to church, you never went anything, you've done anything spiritual in your whole life, more than likely you weren't saved, right? And so I just make it easy for my folks. I say unchurched. They know when I talk about unchurched, I'm talking about lost folks. Okay? 3 out of 4 in your neighborhood are unchurched. They're lost. Okay? It's not tough to identify who those people are. The hard thing about that is being intentional and going ahead and do that. Okay? And if you don't identify your people, you might as well just get up and walk out right now, because nothing else is going to work. I don't care what the process is, what the program is. NAM can give you the program. The SBC can give you the program. Texas Baptist can give you the program. I can give you a program. They're all wonderful things. If you do not identify those people or families, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay? I find most of my people, and I talk in the workbook about some of the places where I found them and the other pastors. I find my people most times now at Starbucks. Okay, I'm a Starbucks junkie. Right? About probably 30% of the gross income I have goes to Starbucks. Right? I try to get I worked with a couple of guys, asked if I could just give an expense account for that, but I don't. But I meet most of my folks there. Starbucks in our community is basically what I call the third place. Okay, and you're familiar with that. I had the privilege. We had done are we on time, Dr. Willingham? You help me. Okay. We had a very, very successful. I was in logistics, and when we were a private company before we did a roll-up and went public, one of our largest accounts was the auto parts wholesale distribution business. And most of you don't know, most of those comes out of big car dealerships. There was a couple here in town that basically had most of that business. We ran trucks in the 4-state area every night to every little mom and pop auto parts store. And we would load those trucks. We had keys for all those places. We took those in. We put the new parts there. We picked the old cores up, the generators and the batteries and the stuff like that. We did that, okay? Starbucks called and said, man, this is 97, 98, somewhere in that line. Starbucks called and said, we really, we got to get our pastries to our stores, and Federal Express is doing it, and they're charging something. We want you to come and talk to us. So I got to go into Seattle and talk to the leadership team at Starbucks. It was a great experience, okay? And they talked to me then. They kept talking to me about Starbucks becoming the third place in the community. The first place is your home. Second place is where you work. Third place is Starbucks. Most of our churches, we're trying to make our churches the third place in a good way. But they talked about that. It was amazing. Didn't get the business because they wouldn't give us keys, okay, to the stores. And so they give me keys to the store. I can make every delivery in about $8 and make money, and everybody's happy. You don't give me the stores, and I got to hit a window of 7 to 8 o'clock, then the delivery costs $35. So, here you go. So your pastries, by the way, at Starbucks, which I took one bite of my scone and threw away, is 1 day old, okay, done. So you know that they're not fresh for every morning. I love their coffee. I'm not crazy about their pastries, okay? But find the third place in your community, okay? Find the third place in your community. Find the place where people go to hang out. They do that. I've got an 8:30 group now that I meet. With that group, yesterday most of the people were saved. Day before yesterday, there wasn't one other guy that was saved other than me there. Tuesday morning, I met a colonel of the Marine Corps who have guns about that big, and we sat and talked about it, as lost as he can be. We sat and talked a little while. He actually top secret thing. He was in Germany doing an exercise. He in live time saw the takedown of bin Laden. Same thing that the president was seeing. It's kind of cool. We talked a little about that. I didn't present the gospel to him. I talked a little about his family. I talked about where he went. One of my guys that was there knew him a little bit. We talked a little while, and he said, "Yeah, I'm a month off. I'm going to be here." I said, "Well, join us later." I'd love to come and join us later because he's going to join our 8:30 group. Okay. I mean, that's kind of how the process went, right? Army, he might be in there, but I think this is a good way. It was a year and a half ago, okay? And that group was a 6:30 a.m. group, not an 8:30 group at that time. I'd seen Army a couple of times, but hadn't been introduced to him. I was walking in about 6:45, a little late that morning for the group. Army was walking back, and he looked at me and he says, "Aren't you Greg Wallace at Pastor Woodridge Baptist Church?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "My name's Army," and he started crying. And I said, "Okay, what's going on, Army?" He said, "Today is my final of my divorce." Well, the first thing as a preacher, I want to say, why didn't you tell me 6 months ago, and let me try to help you, okay? But so I said, well, no, talk to me about, okay, let's pray. I said, let's pray. I said, Army, I'll pray for you every day. You come here a lot? Yeah, okay. Every day you come here, we'll pick a space, say, we'll start praying. Well, I just put Army on my 4x4 list. Obviously, I got more than four people on my 4x4 list. I don't let people, I tell people not to have but four, and so I started talking to him. I started inviting him, to go places. He didn't want to go to church. He didn't go to Sunday school. And the long story, one of the guys, Jimmy Kilshaw, who I, when I grew up, wanted to look like, he invited Army to their Super Bowl party, not the last one, but the one before that. That's how long this has been. Army went to that party, met a couple of people there, came to Sunday school, went on and came to Sunday in worship. 2 weeks later, got saved. Okay. So during that period of time, he has mended his relationship with his 19-year-old daughter who just hated him. Okay. And we've walked him through that process. Sometimes just horrible. Long phone calls. Walked him through that relationship. Okay. I walked in 2 weeks ago. It was a Tuesday. I got back to Africa on Monday. Tuesday morning, I walked in the coffee thing, and Army walked in. The whole group. There's about 6 or 7 of us sitting in the table in the middle. Army walks in, and the biggest smile in the world. And I looked at Army. I said, "Army, what's going on?" He said, "Megan came home last night." That's his wife. Right? Tuesday morning, he walked in. He said, we were standing in the line. The group was there, and he came and stood next line. He said, "Pastor, how did God just fix this? I mean, everything's so on. How did God just fix this? I mean, did God just jump in there and change Megan? What did God do?" And I looked, I said, "Army, you know the answer to that, don't you?" He said, "It started with me, didn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it started with me. It started with you getting right with God, accepting Christ." And now God's not going to fix everything like that, but that's the situation. That is because of intentionally building relationships in that place. You've got to identify 4 people or 4 families in the geographical area of your church that are unchurched, and start to build those relationships with those people.